I remember hearing about HIV while I was living in Washington, D.C. in the 1980s. I would say that it didn't really become personal until I became infected. A part of me, I'm sure, was in denial that it could not, affect me. I didn't really care, to be honest. I was first diagnosed in the mid 90s, like 1995. I had just bought a house on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. I had just started graduate school. And I remember during that time, I would wake up with headaches. Okay. And there was something going on with my throat. And it bothered me and it did not go away. So I said, oh, let me just go in and get a checkup. So that led me to getting, a test for HIV. The doctor was matter of fact. She just came out, gave me my diagnosis, and I felt alone. I was trying to decide what my next moves were going to be, especially the fact that I had met someone who I really liked, and it took me a long time to actually meet someone, and for all of this, to happen, timing just wasn't good. There was no cure for HIV. When I was first diagnosed, I don't recall having a conversation about how long I was going to live, especially from my doctor. What I do know is that what I did know was that I wanted to live. It was my choice to actually start, taking meds. I wanted to take meds because I wanted to help myself. I stopped smoking. I started becoming more active. I started swimming, which helped me stop smoking because I couldn't do both. And I just became aware of other programs or services within Washington, D.C., like Us Helping Us. Through my association with them, that's when I learned more about certain programs that were available for people who are HIV positive. And I also started participating in, they had like studies. They were performing studies. I started participating in some of the studies. One of the hardest things at the time when I was first diagnosed in the 1990s was telling my family. I needed some time to digest it myself. And as I mentioned earlier, I had met someone who I really liked. And I was honest with him because that was the basis of our relationship, was honesty. So after I told him about my diagnosis, and he told me that my feelings for you are the same. And for 14 years, we were together. And he was true to his word, a man of his word. But in terms of telling my family, once I told my partner, I let my family know. I wasn't quite sure as to how they would respond. I know that my mother loves me. I know that my brothers and sisters, they love me, but I had to tell them because I needed their love and their support. And when I mentioned my diagnosis to my mother, I didn't say HIV. I said I had a terminal condition that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life. And I told my brothers and sisters that I had HIV, so they knew. And I was not disappointed. They did not disappoint me. They were there for me. I knew that after I had graduated from grad school, I wanted to give back. I had nieces and nephews, yeah, sure, but I wanted to do more. And so that's how I became interested in adoption through my friends. And really, I really wanted to love. I wanted to love someone other than myself. My son was born in 2002. And when I first met my son in the foster home in Maryland, I was told by the social worker, that he had some developmental delays. And Ricky, would you like to meet this child? And I said, sure, because I did not want to stigmatize this child for the same reason that I wouldn't want anyone to stigmatize me based on something on a piece of paper. This person has HIV. Oh, that he wouldn't make a great dad or a great father, which is not true. So I was open to meeting, the child at the time. And that was the best thing, my son, and fighting for my son and winning the adoption, case was so very important. Kids are in foster care. They have state attorneys that their role is to protect the child, to make sure that the home that they are potentially going to live is safe and it is in the best interest of the child. So when a child was placed with me, when the state attorney came to my home, I told her what my diagnosis was. And from the get-go, she said, well, you don't know how long you're going to live. And I remember saying to her, no parent can guarantee their child how long they will live, So it was through the state attorney where I had to fight. The judge gave her every opportunity to prove her case, and she became desperate. She wanted me, again, to release my medical records so that she could actually use against me. And when I did not do that, when the judge made his decision, do you know she was not there? She didn't show up. And at the end, we took a picture of the judge and myself and my family, holding my son. So it ruled in my favor, telling my son that I was HIV positive. That was a tough one. And the reason why was because I was afraid that he wouldn't love me, that he would not see me as dad. Because sometimes children will place their parents on a pedestal. They'll do that. And I didn't want to fall off that pedestal. And that may have attributed because of the internal stigma I put on myself, that I was afraid to tell my son. And I would say that my son was about 8 or 9 when I shared with him my status. He didn't change. His love for me didn't change. If anything, it was strengthened. It was strengthened. What has changed most about living with HIV from when I was first diagnosed in 1995 to today, 2025, is my confidence level. Just being free to have a conversation about my diagnosis and letting other people know that I am a living witness, an example of someone who is a long-term survivor of HIV. It has not stopped my life, but it pushed me to even work harder with certain goals that I may have had in my life. Again, I was talking about, I had first found out that in grad school, just started grad school, that pushed me to finish, So I've done everything, all the things that I wanted to do in life, I've been able to do with HIV, using that as a positive rather than a negative.